Welcome to my crib.
That's a lot of shoes. On this episode of Creators, I'm hanging out with the longtime sneaker influencer Jacques Slade. From unboxings to picking sneakers of the week to shoe collection tours to being on numerous podcasts to hosting an online show for the PGA Tour and even giving clues on Jeopardy.
Sneakers for 800.
Here's Jacques.
There simply isn't a part of online sneaker culture that Jacques hasn't touched. I'm Becca, welcome back to my show where I hang out with a creator that I admire for a day to figure out how they do what they do, or in the case of Jacques, how what he's doing is evolving. My day with Jacques started at his incredibly cool storage unit that is filled to the brim with hundreds of pairs of shoes and branding materials.
So I've been doing this since 2009, so that's 15 years, essentially.
Show me a shoe that you relate with the beginning of your career.
Okay, here's a good one. This is KD's sneaker. The first shoe launch I went to as an independent, individual creator was that shoe launch.
In 2013, Jacques was fired from Nice Kicks, a traditional media site devoted to sneaker culture. And this is when he decided to start creating content for himself.
YouTube kind of felt like it was like your own network, because back then everything was so focused on traditional television or traditional media still.
And what started as mostly sneaker news quickly turned into interviews and a signature style of unboxing the shoes that now fill the storage unit.
Yo. Hey guys, what's poppin'? Jacques Slade here. And Jacques Slade here. Back with another unboxing.
This room essentially changed my life. These all represent different parts of my life being where I am now and different parts of the journey that I've been on.
A journey that has only recently started to change. On the day I was visiting Jacques, there was a few things he needed to do. Record daily social content, unbox a new golf swing monitor, and record 2 of his long-standing YouTube shows. The first is Hard Pass, which is a sort of news show for sneaker culture, and the second is Heat Check, that covers upcoming shoe releases.
All of this stuff you see me doing, I learned on the internet, so if it's wrong, people that are watching, blame the internet.
Jacques' studio is laid out in a way that he can just rotate lights and cameras to create a new set, depending on what he needs to film. And for the most part, he uses a Sony FX6 with a Sony 24-70mm lens. He then lights his space with 2 Aperture Nova P300s, and he records audio via an Audio-Technica AT4053B mic into a Mix Pre 3 Mark II. And then he has a teleprompter that he got off Amazon that he can control via his phone and an iPad.
So the OG design remained, but it's distinct enough that it might upset purists, and I'm going to be curious to see how they
But it's not just Jacques doing all of the work. He employs a whole team that includes a lawyer, a manager, an accountant, an editor, and a writer. Overall, his setup looks and his team operates much more like a traditional newsroom than a YouTuber. I'll link the 2 previous episodes of the show down below so that you can see how the other 2 creators' spaces look and how they operate. And like them, Jacques makes most of his money off of brand deals, YouTube AdSense revenue, and consulting with brands on launches. But what makes Jacques unique in the revenue space is that he's also a host for more mainstream content. In particular, he hosts a show for the PGA. The roots of the Professional Golfers Association, or PGA, go all the way back to 1916. It's an organization that's deeply rooted in its history, like playing tournaments in the same locations and enforcing dress codes, which for most of its history has led to the perception that it's an old man's game, played by mostly wealthy white folks. But within the last few years, there has been a shift in this narrative, at least online, in an effort to expand the fan base and attract a younger audience. And Jacques, who has long played golf, is seeing an opportunity to gain more access and bring his voice to the sport as well.
A guy that works at the PGA Tour is a sneakerhead, a guy named Nelson, super into sneakers. So he reached out maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we did a couple of test pieces, like the history of golf footwear. Then we did a history of style in golf. And those both did well and were well received. And then we started working on a show called Voices. And the goal of that was always to tell the story, to widen the aperture of the world of golf. Then this past year, I started hosting a show for them called The Cut.
As a first-timer to Bay Hill, it was necessary that I got the full AP experience, hence the alpaca that you see draped across these shoulders.
One of the last things Jacques had to do on the day I was visiting him was unbox a golf swing monitor. which is sort of funny because it has nothing to do with sneakers, but much like how the PGA is seeking to expand its audience by going down different paths, Jacques, too, has slowly been introducing his audience to his love of golf.
Par 3, hole number 17, Vista Valencia. I'm 12 over, rocking the Adidas Tour 360 boost for 24, and that swing felt solid.
And it's in the hopes that golf can become a larger part of what he creates content around. Because at the end of the day, what I learned about Jacques is that he has always just made content about what he loves. And he hopes to continue doing just that. 14 years of making content online, and you're not sick of it yet?
No, I'm not sick of it at all. Being a creator gives you the confidence that you could really do whatever you want, and that is a powerful feeling and a powerful way to think about things. I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can continue doing it for longer.
All right, so before I go, I get to like take a pair of shoes with me, right?
Whatever you want. You can take whatever you want. That means that I get to come to your house and get a camera.
Okay. Deal.
Deal.